Hey, welcome back, everybody, to another segment of Wednesday Wisdom, sponsored by K-12 Sports Tech, along with all of our other great sponsors. Before we meet this week's Wednesday Wisdom guest, as always, we want to give a shout out to our sponsors. So stay with us for the next 3 minutes. These are all companies that I used as an athletic director. I highly recommend that you check them out. So listen to our shout outs, then listen to our Wednesday Wisdom guest, and then go and visit these sponsors. I'm telling you, you're going to be glad you did. Here we go. We want to thank K-12 Sports Tech for sponsoring Wednesday Wisdom. K-12 Sports Tech helps athletic directors and sport vendors connect through education and hands-on consulting services. Athletic directors are also invited to join the K-12 Sports Tech AD Think Tank and help influence how companies shape their tech to better serve schools. To get started, just go to k12sportstech.com. That's it, k12sportstech.com. We also want to thank our friends at Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches just loved the tools that Huddle provided. Our student athletes loved the videos, our parents loved the streaming, but there is so much more. Join the 8 million users. Turn your school into a Huddle school. We'd like to thank Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. Now, I didn't get my master's from Ohio, but my assistant AD did, and it was just a fantastic experience. It's very affordable, totally online. And while you're completing your master's, you're also completing 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. To get started, go to ohio.edu/info/MAA. We want to say thank you to Home Campus. Home Campus is a platform you're going to use every single day, whether it's scheduling, rosters, communication. Their athletic clearance and eligibility platform alone is worth the price. For more information, just go to homecampus.com. That's it, homecampus.com. We'd like to thank Sideline Interactive indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and you can schedule a live web demo to see their score tables and their scoreboards in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made. Go to sidelineinteractive.com for more information. We also want to say thank you to Snap Raise. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and been disappointed in the results? Well, those days are gone. Go to snapraise.com. It's hands down the best online fundraiser out there. We used it at our school because it works. Go to snapraise.com. You can check out their other great platforms, but if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it. Go to snapraise.com. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Hometown Ticketing. Hometown's the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. I don't think I need to say anything more. Go to hometownticketing.com. Whether it's more support, more security, or more customization, the Hometown team will help you make the best online ticketing decision. We also want to thank Vital Signs Wall of Fame. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards for all the teams, for all their different events, or to show off your school's Hall of Fame, go to Vital Signs Wall of Fame and take a look at their interactive touchscreen. That's right, touchscreen video consoles. It's also a great way to showcase your school's unique history and brag a little bit about your proudest moments. That's vitalsignswalloffame.com. Make sure you mention the podcast. And we want to thank Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. Now, athletic directors already get feedback, but a lot of times it's from a very small group that just wants to gripe. Athletic Surveys will connect you to that group so you can hear their concerns, but they're also going to connect you with the 98% of your stakeholders that support your program. And having that data in your hands, particularly when you're talking to a frustrated parent, is incredibly valuable. It's also valuable when you're talking to your principal or maybe even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. Welcome back, everybody, to another segment of Wednesday Wisdom on the Educational AD Podcast. We're going out to the great state of Washington today, and we're not just talking with an old friend. We're talking with one of our most frequent, and I would dare say highly listened to contributors on Wednesday Wisdom, the great Suzanne Vick. If you're new to the podcast, Suzanne is a certified master athletic administrator. She's the director of athletics at Curtis High School in University Place, Tacoma area. Um, Google Suzanne Vick. Okay, she does an incredible job at her school. Her teams are successful in just about any way you would want to measure success. And she and I connected, gosh, I guess going on 4 years now, back during COVID. And she's not only become a great friend, she's somebody that I turn to if I've got a question about what's going on in the world of athletics. So, Suzanne Vick, welcome back to Wednesday Wisdom.
Thanks for having me. It's always great to be with you, Jake.
Well, for our listeners, we're recording this just pre-Thanksgiving, October 27th, so it'll be very timely as you listen to it. Suzanne, you and I were talking before we started recording here. Again, you had about 6 different topics that I thought would all be great, but I'm just going to go ahead and get out of your way. What do you have to share with our listeners this time on Wednesday Wisdom?
Yeah, absolutely. So we just finished fall sports on Saturday. We started winter sports a couple weeks ago. So we were kind of in this merging of the worlds. The phrase that keeps coming back to me, the ADs say a lot, is I don't have time. I don't have time. And like all of us, the emails keep coming, the issues keep coming, the sports keep coming, the coaches keep coming, and you really don't have time to. I get it. I'm in the same boat as all of you. But what I want you to flip the script on this one is that you don't have time not to. So there's certain things. I think number one, you got to be as efficient as you possibly can. But the other is the certain things that are really important, you got to do them regardless of how busy you are. So the things I think about is number one, communication. How are you getting information not only to your coaches, your athletes, your parents? Because the better you do communicating, the less distractions you will have when they don't understand what's going on. I'm going through my QPA process right now. And one of the things that I didn't have in place was a really clear communication document. So through that process, I created this communication document. I've shared it with my parents. I've shared it with my athletes. I've shared it with my coaches. They're super thankful that there's something really clear that they can go to when things go sideways. So communication, I think, is a huge one that you don't have time not to communicate well. I was a mentor of one of our younger ADs or newer ADs. And I said, hey, have you gotten out and talked to your teams yet? She's like, I don't have time to. I'm like, you don't have time not to. I always tell my coaches that I want to play offense. At all times, I want to be playing offense. And I know some basketball coaches will be mad at that phrase. But when it comes to being an athletic director, I always want to be playing offense. I want to know what's going on ahead of time. And the only way you can do that is if people are ahead of it, communicating with you. But when you meet with your teams, the first week or two of the season, you can establish expectations. I meet with them all and I talk to them about the athletic code they signed. Most of our kids don't realize if they go to a party where alcohol is served, even if they're not drinking, that is an athletic code violation. They don't know that. And so I want to make sure I'm ahead of it, because if I can prevent something, it's less time on the other side. I also talk about harassment, hazing, bullying, what a good team looks like. If you have issues, how you're going to communicate and try to get ahead. It takes 10 minutes per sport. So, right now we've got 6 sports going on. That would take an hour to get that done. I don't know how much time I've saved by doing it, but I'm going to guess that it's probably a lot. Because what I do is when I do have an issue, I say, do you remember that first conversation we had? And when we've had that conversation, then they can draw back to it and go, oh, yeah, I'm supposed to go talk to my coach. Oh, yeah, you did talk about that. We also talk about the academic standards at that time as well. So those are just kind of some things that help with that meeting with teams. We also do a parent night once a season. And so typically it's the first Thursday. Basketball, wrestling season, we usually push it out an extra week because of the overlap of sports, but it's another opportunity to get in front of parents, athletes, with coaches. They can they have their expectations to talk about. But the more time we can get ahead of them, and I get it. I was really busy last week, and we've got teams in the playoffs, sports starting, and I made the time to do it because I feel like it was really important. Um, that meeting I talk with my principal and our athletic trainer for about a half hour, talk about communication expectations, how they can help the process, what, even just leagues and schedules and being flexible, how to treat officials. We've had multiple, not a ton, but a couple different times where we've had to eject parents from the stands because of how they're treating officials. And if we can get ahead of that and say, hey, remember, we asked you if you wanted to be an official. You should go do this instead of sitting in the stands yelling at an official. So some of those parent nights, I think, have caused things to just hush just a little bit. And then we break out into the individual groups where coaches get to have those individual conversations and they talk about playing time, any spirit pack gear, travel, whatever they're doing for that season, lettering criteria. Again, getting ahead of it. This is all a get ahead of. You don't have time not to do these things. Being present, we just went through our administrative staff. We're really good at making sure we're at events, and so we create a supervision schedule. Got to be present. The amount of things that can fall off of your plate if you're present because you're aware of what's going on. When things go sideways, you can just be there. You can go sit next to somebody. You can. I have a friend of mine that used to be she's still an AD. She would have lollipops in her pocket, and she would walk up to somebody and hand it to them if they were yelling too loud, or if they were yelling more obnoxiously. And I was just like, what a fun, like she told them ahead of time, this is what I'm going to do. If you're out of bounds, I'm going to give you a lollipop. Enjoy that. But you can just go have conversations, relationship building by being present. But again, you're just like, wow, that's another night out. But sometimes that issue, could be a 2, 3, 4 day investigation issue that you definitely don't have time to do. And then I think the last one for me that I've learned over the last couple of years is how to document better. We've been in some situations where I've had to pull some records from the past, and flipping through notebooks is not the most efficient use of my time. And so developing an electronic system, and a system where it tags things, it dates things, it categorizes things so that I'm not flipping through all of these legal pads or binders from the past. So I've gotten better at that. I don't think I'm great at it still, but I am better at it. And I hope that frees up some of my time. So that's kind of you don't have time not to do some of these things. Jake, you probably have some that you're like, these are the things I did that maybe made my life easier, but did take a little bit of time out of my life.
Well, first of all, thanks for sharing that. That was a master class in about 8 minutes on for a new AD or for a veteran AD. Um, I think most of the things that you mentioned, I learned usually the hard way over my, 25, 26 years as an AD. But certainly you are spot on with getting out, meeting the teams, talking to them, even if it's just that 5 minutes. We're going to talk about, how we travel or cleaning up the locker room or bench decor. Just, this is how we roll. And then making sure the coaches are reinforcing that, meeting with the parents on those parent nights, whether it's just one big one at the start of the year or if you do it seasonally. It's, as you mentioned, being present, being seen. And I'm going to jump to your last one, the documentation. I was a yellow legal pad kind of guy. And when one got filled up, I put the start date and the end date, and then it went in a file cabinet in case I ever had to, go back and refer to it. But, doing that electronically and tagging dates and names and places, what a great idea, because it's these days, as you know, it's not if you're going to get called into the office or if you're going to get called in for a deposition. It's when. And you want to make sure that, and I'm going to go all the way back to what you started about on offense. As a career football coach, um, that was my philosophy. I would tell our kids, if we have the ball, the other team can't score. And so we were going to take care of the ball on offense. And when we were on defense, we were going to try to create those turnovers, gang tackling, stripping, interceptions, all that stuff. So I'm right on board with you and your philosophy of playing offense. So um, I don't want to try to dilute the ones that you mentioned because they are all, like I said, that was a master class in presenting. I don't want to cut you off, but I want to make sure this gets in. If one of our listeners wanted to reach out, pick your brain a little bit more. And listeners, I already told you, you need to, Google Suzanne Vick. How do they get a hold of Suzanne Vick?
Probably the easiest is through my email. And I've actually gotten some emails back, and it's just fun to dialogue and been able to send some things to people and share, and that's awesome. So my email is S as in Sam, Vick, V as in Victor, ICK at UPSD83.org. So it's svick at UPSD83.org. UPSD stands for University Place School District. So happy to respond, happy to connect. It's a pretty cool community that we have. One of the things I didn't mention, and it definitely is takes a little bit of time. I'm better at it now because I plan through the week, but I send an email every Monday to all of my coaches. So it will have, hey, here's some certain things for the week. Here's the schedule for the week, but also it might have supervision. It might have safety. It might have transportation. It'll also have pictures of, hey, this is some things that went on. For an example, we just, won the state volleyball title in the state of Washington. So the celebrations and congrats, third place in soccer, congrats, celebration. But it does take some time. On another podcast, I believe we talked about the curriculums that I do, character curriculums that I do. So that there's a piece in there that has the slides. This year's curriculum is called Empowered Vikes. And so how do we empower our kids to be advocates for themselves, and how do we get better? So that goes in that email, and it's a repeat. We've got 3 sports season. I don't create the whole thing every season. I grab what was last season, make adjustments and edits for the seasons that we're in, and send that off. So it's definitely a little heavier lift in the fall, but gets a little bit easier as we go on. But I think it's a good use of my time because I don't get a whole lot of questions that are like, what's going on? Because they get that information.
Yeah, and again, that's something that I used pretty much throughout my career, is that weekly email to the coaches, generic information. But when I needed to send out something important, they were already in the habit of getting an email from me, and I didn't bury them with emails, so they knew that that was important. Yeah, very cool
Yeah,
stuff.
absolutely.
Well, we didn't even talk about this. Am I going to see you in Austin?
I am not going to Austin. So, not this year, planning on next year. But like I said, that's the one thing I don't have time to do.
Well,
next year I won't have time not to do it, but this year it's not going to happen. But
well, hopefully we'll get you down to Florida next year when the conference is in Tampa. Okay.
Yeah, I'm all about that.
All right. Well, Suzanne, thanks as always for sharing with our listeners. Congratulations on an incredible fall sports season. Love following you and Curtis Vikings on social media. And again, listeners, reach out to Suzanne. You've got a tremendous resource here. Thanks again, Suzanne.
One thing I didn't mention is our social media page. So we've got my email, but at our Viking Nation is our social media tag for Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. It's at OUR Viking Nation.
Okay.
So
It's
love to
very
have you
easy.
join us. I love to follow other people also that are doing great things.
Yeah. And it's a great day to be a Viking, right?
Always a great day to be a Viking. Thanks, Jake.
You bet. For our listeners, we want to say thanks to you and remind you that we upload the Zoom recordings of every interview to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We do this segment every single week, and just about every day we try to share stories from athletics and best practices. So come back and join us again on the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time. Make sure you reach out to Suzanne Vick, tremendous resource. And again, she does a great job at Curtis High School. Before we go, we do want to acknowledge all of our sponsors, including K-12 Sports Tech, who is the named sponsor for all of our Wednesday Wisdom segments. Go to k12sportstech.com. We also want to say thank you to Ohio University and their online masters, Vital Signs Wall of Fame touchscreen video consoles, Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack. If you're not using a survey, you're really missing out. Snap Raise, hands down, the best online fundraiser out there. Huddle, as a football coach, I used Huddle. As an AD, we were a Huddle school. Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Hometown Ticketing, the leading digital ticketing provider. Home Campus, as you've heard me say before, it's a platform you're going to use every single day. And Gipper. Go to gipper.com to find out more information. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you next time on the Educational AD Podcast.